detail work is quite difficult for me personally. I've painted over his hair a little bit, but I'm going to paint his hair a different color at the end. What I had mentioned about adding in with the black over top, so typically I had said before when you're doing the lines to try to avoid going back over again with black unless you have to. But see here what's happening with his mouth is I kind of want more defined teeth than that, so I'm going to actually go back over with the black. And you can use artistic license here too, like if you want to add in like sharp teeth or just more exaggerated flat teeth. Anything you want to do, you know, if you want the model to look more scary or more like a kelpie or something like that, definitely go for it. I'm going to show you where it stays focused on the mouth. There's a certain type of doll or something that has these expression in the teeth. I like my models to be more on the scary side, but again, it's totally up to how you want your final one to look. Okay, so you can have a bit of a look like that. I'm going to use black to go back in and fix his nose because I did make the that little bridge of the nose a bit too long. Touching it up a little bit, and then the same with the eyes. If you look from the top view, my eyes are not quite even, so I'm just going to fix those. And it doesn't need to be as symmetrical as possible. You're doing both sides, and it doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical, but if you're doing both sides of the skeleton, you want to try to make it as symmetrical as possible. So if you end up only painting on, say, 5 ribs, for example, you should try to keep 5 ribs on the other side, otherwise it's just going to look a bit lopsided. And then once this side of the face is dry, I'm going to do the same thing where I go over and kind of crisp up all my lines. So what I've done now is I've crisped up the lines, I've kind of finished up some of the details in the skull, and you can kind of spend a bit more time than I did and just really get those lines as symmetrical as possible. Try to get the edges as smooth as possible, avoid any little brush strokes or imperfections. And then the kind of final step after you have your skeleton done, and depending on your choice, so there's a few things you can do. So one is to paint the eyes. So some people like to make the eyes glow in the dark, they like to make them realistic, they might even make them red. It depends what you're going for. The same with the hair, so I painted mine black with a white skeleton, so you can leave the hair black, you could do the hair as like a silver color, you can paint it white, you can paint it a different color. Some people like to combine like neon colors, so like neon yellow or like a lime green, or even a pearlescent color. So I have silver, and I was thinking of doing the hair silver, but another thing you can also do is do some decorations on them. So some people like to do little flowers, little spots, even little swirls, and you can decorate it however you want. The other thing that some people will do is on top of the white, the bones, especially in the pelvis and scapula area, is they'll take either a pen or a very small paintbrush, and they'll actually take the black and they'll draw in like little cracks and details around the bones, and this helps to make them pop out a little bit more. So I'll try to show you a few examples. So you can even just add a bit of a line in there. You can add a bit of a line and a bit of details kind of in the pelvis area there. And that sort of thing. So that will make the bones pop out a little bit more. So you can go back and go over some of those and put those details in with black. Like I said, some people like to use the pen. I find the pen doesn't match the paint all the time depending on what you get. So like if you use a fine tip Sharpie or something like that, it may or may not actually match. And then with the silver, like I said, you can do some flowers, some dots, or you can just make the horse's hair or their eye. So for example, with this guy, I'll probably do the eye as like a silver kind of color, just to make him look more like a zombie. I thought that was pretty cool. The hair, I was going to add in a bit of silver, maybe not too much, but just a bit to kind of make it pop a little bit. And the same on the tail. So you can really do whatever you want. Like I said, the anatomy reference is just to kind of give you a guideline. The main things I see that look a little bit off that people do in terms of anatomy are things like the neck not being in the right spot and then the angle of the ribs. So as long as you have those two things in a generally correct position, the rest of it is very much up to your artistic license. So I'm going to show you what I mean with a little decoration. So I have a bit of space kind of in this area between the pelvis and the ribs. So I'm just going to put a few little silver flowers. And you can use any color, but usually people do very bright colors for these. It's kind of pinks, like blues, neon green, that kind of thing. You can just put like whatever little kind of patterns or adornments that you think would look cool. For me, I've kept it black, white, and silver, but you can do whichever you'd want. So with this guy, what I'm going to go back and do now is kind of clean up the bones and just add a little bit of black, very, very thin around the edges, putting in some cracks and putting in some other details on them. Alright, so for me, my guy is basically done in terms of what I wanted to accomplish. So he's got some silver there in his eye, mane and tail, as well as some silver flowers on there. The face, you can see I've gone over and detailed. Instead of realistic horse teeth, I've gone with kind of a stitched mouth look. I painted the inside of the legs and then painted just the skeleton on this side. So there's quite a lot that you can do, a lot to kind of customize and make it your own, and there's all sorts of things you can do to kind of play with it and have fun. Thank you guys very much for joining me for this video, and I can't wait to see what lovely skeleton stable-made creatures you create.